Hello and welcome to Platos Cave, coming to you from Australia, the land down under, for Revolution Radio on revolution.radio. That's right. Listener funded, no less, which means you are in charge of our finances, more or less. If you can donate, please do. And any currency is good, including crypto, gold, silver. If it falls, it's nice. Jingling is okay, but we take what we can. And it's really easy to do. Go to the website and follow the bouncing ball. Like I said, easy peasy. But maybe you can't, and that's with AI around the corner. That's gonna be more likely as we move forward into the future. Tell people about the station. Tell them about our shows. If you see us out in the wild on any kind of platform, we're on pretty much every platform. Like, subscribe, comment, share. These are all good. It's good for the algorithm. The more views and likes and shares and so forth we get, the better. If you like what you see, of course, right? Naturally. Our shorts are penetrating everywhere, which is pretty cool. So, and again, I want to welcome a whole bunch of new subscribers. Thank you so much for subscribing. It really does mean a lot. Thank you very much. You can listen to us, like I said, on pretty much any platform, including a Grace Tabletop Digital Radio in the comfort of your own home. Wonderful. Wonderful. And not to be outdone, the archives, the station, completely gratis. You just go in there again, follow the bouncing ball, and you can listen to any content that you like for free. Nothing. It doesn't cost anything. Just go in there and enjoy the content. There's a lot there. There's a lot of shows. There are many thousands of hours of shows if you have the time. Finally, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which we are broadcasting in Australia. And for Dave,
it's the Duncan John.
Thank you, sir. For myself, of course, the Iraq people, and we would like to our gratitude and respect to the elders past, present, and future. And gratitude because those people have been looking after the land for, well longer than 40,000 years. It's a long time. And we can't even make it 200. That's quite something, right? Anywho, what a week it has been. We will have to talk about the Americans today. We'll have to talk about Trump and the shutdown and a whole bunch of other stuff as well, because it is fairly big news, so we can't really avoid it. There's one interesting thing, though. Dave, I saw in the news, there are 200 Kenyans fighting for Russia in the Ukraine. It truly is a multinational force that the Russians have assembled. I think that's hilarious. We'll see. Oh, by the way, there's still some troubles in the Middle East. That hasn't gone away, even though it hasn't made the headlines. The truce is 10 years at best. And I still maintain that Israel will continue its policy of annexing Gaza in toto, as well as the West Bank. You just wait and see. Definitely gonna happen. But to get to the meatier pieces of news, first of all, Dave, is it true that there's another solar storm coming our way?
No.
G5 possibly? There's not another one?
No, it's unlikely to, because it's already been.
Yeah, no, I hear you, but I saw a post today, or a couple of posts that said there was one that we had, yes, but there's another one that might hit us tomorrow. But that's okay. If there's not one, that's good.
There is not. So the storms. I'm just showing a graphic. So first slow one, second medium, and then the next one hit again shortly afterwards, which was kind of leading into the last few hours. So it is kind of come and gone, and the graphs show everything. So here's on screen. We got to a K between K8 and 9, pretty strong, and as it started to recede, like the strength. It then popped up again, and then it's been receding, and we're back into good territory. The reason why I say this is because we had reached nearly 1,000 goes proton flux, like 1,000 kilometers per second of proton flow going past the Earth, and right now it's pretty much as calm as it's going to be, given that there's a trailing edge of protons, right? So really nothing to worry about anymore. When you look at the time, it's gone by. All right. I do keep up to date with this on a daily basis.
I know you do. That's why I wanted to know, because I trust what you say over some posts that I find on the net. So that's good news. That's good. In case you didn't know, guys, that's really
someone's written
news.
the post because they heard there was a third, and they didn't think it was all kind of joined together into the one event. That's the reason for it.
Okay, no, that's fair.
It's all right.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Though one day there might be another Carrington event. So
it's inevitable. It happened before. Mm-hmm. Therefore, it will happen again. It's very simple. It's an inescapable truth.
If you get to see any of the lovely imagery, I just want people to see what I took as a photo from my mobile phone, and you couldn't see it. It wasn't detectable where I am by eye. It was only detectable by very long exposures of a minute or more that really showed it up. So I used to do photography, and just saying aperture open is what you needed. A mobile phone does not cut it at night. It does a pretty good job showing the stars, but it's just a little pink that you can see. That's normally completely black. So I did try, but it's so disappointing. Meki, the last October, not the one which it's just been, but the last year's October, I was at Bathurst when it happened. I'm on a mountaintop in the least amount of light that you can get. Perfect conditions to see an aurora. Bathurst, it's a race. It's lovely, but it's at nighttime. Fantastic. Look at this. And everyone on the mountain was trying to see it, and you can't see anything. Not visible to the naked eye. Same kind of thing. Even if we didn't have electricity today, or just over last night, if we had no electricity, we wouldn't have seen last night's one in the southern hemisphere. There were places where it was glorious, like Tasmania or up in Northern America, Canada, Alaska. It would have looked amazing, but sadly, even 200 years ago, we would not have known that it happened. The same event, right? We wouldn't have known. So at Bathurst, there was a let's call the person a clown, because I think it was pretty funny. They go, oh, look at the aurora that we could see. And they just got like Microsoft Paint and put a pink and blue, smush across it, which was obviously doctored image. They didn't try. They didn't even, with zero skill, Becky, that's what they did. And everyone liked that more than the actual photos that people took. Because it was comical.
Of course.
I think that's the Aussie spirit.
It's pretty. That's if it's pretty, then people will always like pretty better than whatever is real, whatever that might be. Mm-hmm. There are a few more concerning pieces of news which I want to share with you, which came through today. That the Ukraine has renewed and increased, in fact, attacks by Russia. So Russia is doubling down. No one is talking about it anymore. Like literally, no one is talking about it. I haven't seen anything on any front page of any news agency. Nothing. Okay. Not on the front, like second, third page, you'll find something, but like first, nothing. So, but it's still ongoing. And this winter is going to be tough for the Ukrainians. If they survive this one, then they actually have a chance at winning, right? If they survive this winter. But Trump clearly is not holding Putin to account, and we know why, because Trump is in Putin's back pocket. That's what's happening. Okay, there will never be anything meaningful that Trump does to hurt Putin. It's just not going to happen. Which brings me to the next piece of news that we can't get around because it's news, it's new, it's important. A whole bunch of emails or documents have been released from the Epstein estate. 20,000, that's correct. 20,000 pages. And in it, now, no one has, to my knowledge, no one has gone through all of it, but clearly someone, did a quick search and found Trump. In emails that were part of this release, Epstein very clearly stated that Trump knew about the girls. He spent time with one of the girls, several hours, in fact, in his house, which of course goes directly contrary to what not Epstein, but Trump rather has been saying. He didn't know about it. He didn't have any knowledge. He wasn't involved at all, etc., etc. I think we all knew that was complete nonsense. And I'm not saying it to be vindictive, but Donald Trump has not been a nice person. He has not been nice to women. He's been a misogynist. He has been a predator. He's actually a convicted predator, even though it's civil court. He's settled. So he's not a gentleman by any stretch of the imagination. Okay? He was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, so he probably saw it as his birthright to do whatever he wanted in that department. Not only that, he also owned Miss Teenage pageants and such in America, and he boasted how he could go into the changing room because he was the owner, even if they were undressed or whatever. So he was a I guess what in less enlightened age would have called a hound dog. Hound dog! Not a good thing. And anyone who says otherwise, and anyone, especially when Ghislaine Maxwell said, "Oh no, he was always a perfect gentleman," you knew that was complete BS. Complete BS. Because we all know that's not true. He's never been a perfect gentleman. That's a complete nonsense. Now, Ghislaine Maxwell.
Wait. So, yep, go ahead.
Apparently, Ghislaine Maxwell is receiving a concierge or VIP type treatment in the country club prison she is currently in, which no sex offender is allowed to be in, but she is. But yeah, apparently the treatment she is receiving is exceedingly good and is compared to like a concierge service. Yes, she's in prison, but with all possible perks and such. Having said that, though, of course, her clemency application was struck down, and now I think she's still looking for a pardon from Donald Trump. Now, it's getting harder and harder for Donald Trump to deny that he knew that he had some involvement potentially with Epstein, because the lady that was to be sworn in, the Democratic Congresswoman, has been sworn in, and she was the missing vote, 218th, to now set in motion a request to release all of the Epstein case files, such as they are. Now, bear in mind what I said before, and I stand by it. The vast majority of the bad stuff that Epstein has collected over the years on probably thousands of powerful people, because we're talking about thousands of girls that were trafficked. Okay, Virginia Giuffre was one girl, right, that had been with Epstein for 2 years. One girl for 2 years. He ran this thing for 20 years, maybe longer, and there were thousands of girls, maybe more if you include the girls that were in American, right, and such. So this was a massive operation, okay, and this is Giuffre's memoirs just scratched the very top, very tip of the iceberg, and Prince Andrew clearly has become Andrew has become the fall guy for this, clearly. Because there are many other people with much more power and influence than he, and obviously they don't want anything to come out, because even if they don't face court or jail time, which they might, the damage to their reputations would be irreparable. Like you could not fix that. Okay, but bear in mind that now these things will be released. But like I said, to my point, the really bad stuff is sitting with Putin and potentially Netanyahu. The Americans don't have it. The FBI doesn't have it. The CIA doesn't have it. The NSA doesn't have it. I don't think. I really believe the bulk of the bad stuff sits with Putin and Netanyahu. And that's why Epstein was exited when he was, because they had gotten a hold of the stuff, right? And neither Netanyahu nor Putin would have cared if they were implicated. So what? I mean, good luck trying to do anything to those guys, right? But if you are in Europe, in a Western type democracy, anywhere, then this will be extremely damaging to you. Okay, it will. Now, I want to relay something to you that's very interesting. Actually, no, let me finish with Epstein. So what's happening next? So next, will the files be released? Maybe. Why maybe? Because first Congress, then it goes to the Senate. And you know who signs off finally on the release, Dave?
No.
Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the final person to sign off on it. Okay? So, if it goes through Congress and Senate, they say, yeah, release it, doesn't mean it's going to be released. Donald Trump has to sign off on the release. Now, this reminds me of the FBI agents, 1,000 of them apparently, that went through documents redacting any mention of Trump in the files, such as they are. Now, why would the FBI, tell 1,000 agents to do that? Surely there's better work to be done than that. But what we're seeing here for the first time, maybe in American history, not for the first time in the world. I mean, any tin pot dictator does it the same way. For the first time in history, for the American people, we're seeing all branches of government almost completely kowtowing to the president, in this case, Donald Trump. The judiciary still holds out on a few things, so that's good, I guess. But Senate, Congress, completely taken over by Trump. The Department of Justice, FBI, completely taken over by Trump. They're his. See, the thing is this, right? It's same with the White House. None of these things belong to Trump. The Department of Justice is not even allowed to talk to the president on a regular basis or at all. There was a big hoo-ha when Obama, I think it was Obama or Clinton, I can't remember, it was either Obama or Clinton, coincidentally was on the tarmac with the Department of Justice lead, whoever it was at the time. But there was a big scandal that they shouldn't be talking. What is this corruption? Is he telling her what to do, or him? So it was a big thing. Now he tells her, he sends her tweets, do this, do that, go after this person, go after that, the other person. This is not how America is meant to work, I have to tell you. Okay? This is a complete it's an abomination. But be that as it may, it is what it is. But yeah, so the bad stuff is somewhere else. Something will be released. It may or may not implicate Donald Trump, but he has been lying, and they have, Ghislaine Maxwell has been lying, clearly, because it seems now that he did know about the girls. Okay? He did know about the girls. He did know what kind of business Epstein was on. I mean, you can't be friends with someone for 10, 15 years, best friends even, and not know what that person is doing. I used to go to the gym here out west for better part of 15, 20 years, and I had good friends there. We worked out together. And I knew that some were cocaine dealers. I knew some were margin lenders. You decide which one is worse. Okay. And the Ibrahims worked out at the same gym. If you're not in Australia, it doesn't mean much to you. But everybody was in that gym. And I knew what these people did, right? Did the police ever come to me? No. The funny thing is this. The person running the gym, right, was a retired police officer. Really nice guy. And his son was studying to be a doctor. Really nice guy, too. Right? They worked behind the counter. And everybody in the neighborhood here in Sydney's West would come to that gym. Every single person. They were criminals. Like I said, they were high finance people. They were lawyers. Like it was like someone had taken a cut through society and dumped them in the gym. And when I say it was a men's gym, I'm not being sexist. It was a men's gym. The equipment was old and rusty. Everybody worked out until they stank, like in the old, like Rocky. It looked like a Rocky gym, right? If you ever seen the movie Rocky or any of the Rockies, that's the kind of gym it was. It was. I loved it. It was awesome. But the thing is, you know what people do, even if you don't know them that well. But if you're together with them all the time, become friendly. Certainly, if you're best friends. But Dave, there's something else that bothered me, and this has to do with work, my work. We're all talking about AI and whatever in a meeting and this and that, and I'm saying, do we have a good story around the green aspects? Do we have a good story about nuclear power for the data centers? Do we have a good story around reusing water, maybe? Using a browser to filter and cleanse, to using the cooling of these machines, because we're selling IT services, right? And people say, that's a good question. It's a very good question, but the Americans don't really care about that anymore. Now I work for an American company, so nobody cares about the green aspect anymore, because climate change and global warming, that's no longer really a thing we talk about, and certainly not in the Trump administration. But I find it funny how this American attitude in the administration has now transitioned into the U.S. corporate world, where we just don't care. So what? What green story? and on the heels of that, of course, comes the flip-flopping we saw today around net zero. So net zero in Australia is no longer a thing. What does that mean? By 2050, the parties, or some parties, pledged, certainly liberals, to reduce carbon emissions to zero. In my opinion, that was always a pipe dream. It's a complete nonsense to achieve something that we rely on so heavily in the space of 25, even 30 years. It's a nonsense, but okay. So that's gone now, right? It's completely gone. And maybe, Dave, I hope that at this point they will take the opportunity to focus on mitigating what is going to happen. You can't stop it. Forget zero, forget that. And the reason you can't stop it, that two, maybe three main reasons. I'll talk about the first two first. One, forest fires. Still the biggest carbon emitter in the world. And because the climate is getting hotter and we're having more forest fires, and if you haven't noticed that, then you've been living under a rock. We've had the biggest forest bushfire in living memory, in any memory, in Australia in 2019, just before COVID. The biggest ever, right? And since then, the world has been on fire whenever it's summer. Whichever hemisphere is in summer is on fire. So carbon is released from these fires. Two, permafrost. Tundras, the tops of mountains even, are thawing. So permafrost means it's always frost. Permanent frost. No longer. What does that mean? It means that methane is released. And methane is, I think, 10 or 20 times worse as a greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. Okay? 10 to 20 times worse. So these two sources, the release from forest fires, as well as the methane that's released from the now thawing permafrost, are much worse emitters than what we do as humans. And there's nothing we can do about the fires or the permafrost. The third one, the one that's probably a bit of a worry, is that the temperature in the oceans is changing, and that may affect algal growth and plant growth, and the oceans are the biggest heat and carbon sinks in the world, right? Much bigger than the forests. And if the biology in the ocean changes, that could really screw us up in a big way. It's something that we should worry about. That's hopefully, like I said, hopefully now politicians are waking up and, okay, well, you know what? It is happening. So what can we do to mitigate things that are coming our way? Now, if I were in Europe, I would start building air conditioning units for every home. Full stop. In Australia, well, we have to find cheaper energy. So we have to produce more electricity because our grid may be overloaded. Already happened in South Australia. So we have to reinforce our grid. We can't get rid of coal. We can't get rid of oil or gas fired power plants. We can't. We cannot. We need the electricity to survive the heat. It's crazy, right? If you think about it, it's like a self. It's like a self-increasing effect. So it's like a massive feedback loop. Anyway, so yeah, like we may have to look like Singapore. If you go to Singapore anywhere on the equator, especially Southeast Asia, and you go through a street and then you look into the alleyways, right behind the houses or behind the restaurants or between, you see hundreds, if not thousands, of air conditioning units hanging off the side of these houses like carbuncles, sort of growths that are barnacles even, like of the side of houses, and of course the energy consumption, especially in Singapore, is phenomenal because they've got massive shopping centers, right? And I mean massive. If you think you big shopping centers where you are, you go to Singapore, and every time I go to Singapore, there's like 10 more shopping centers, and of course all of these have to be cooled, right? And trust me, in a country like that, you will very much appreciate the cooling effect of those air-conditioned shopping centers. But it's a thing, though, right? So yeah, that's how you get ready. You have air conditioning. You might have heating in other areas of the world where before you didn't need it. You might have to be a bit more vigilant about your fire safety. Clean your gutters. Make sure that all flammable material is a good distance away from your home. These common sense things. Have food and water. If you have to shelter in place, it doesn't have to be fire, a storm, a flood, anything like that, an earthquake, right? Will require you to shelter in place. So have water, have food, at least for a month or two, right? Because if you pick up the phone and call 000 in Australia or 911 in America or whatever your emergency number is wherever you are, and no one answers, that's a problem. That's a huge issue. Okay, so just be ready. And we keep preaching that, but it is important. If you can afford it, then I found online, Dave. I found businesses that sell professional bug-out bags, and the good ones that I've seen, they're between $1,000 and $1,500 each, and they literally come with everything that you need to survive for like a week or two or even longer in the wilderness. Like these are really professional things. I'm gonna buy probably one for each member of the family at some point, because you just grab it and go. Just grab it and at least you're gonna live, and this is like when the chips are down, when everything is going sideways, right? That's when you do that. But look, these are the news that I wanted to cover. I think that this Epstein thing, it's been going on so long. It's incredible. It's not going to go away. And I'm not sure that Donald Trump can survive it now that we know he has lied about it. And the thing is, if he keeps saying, oh, it's a Democratic hoax or, it's a smear. No, it's not. It's not a hoax. It's not a smear. Here it is, right? I mean, don't lie about it. See, the problem is this. He should have, as soon as it's, because he campaigned on it. If he hadn't campaigned on it, I wouldn't say anything. But he campaigned on it. He said, we're going to release this. We're going to release that. Da-da-da. Sure enough. Okay, fine. Okay. That didn't happen. Right? He was already backpedaling when he was being interviewed before he became president. He was already backpedaling. But if you have nothing to fear, then release it. Right? Release it and just let people make up their own mind. But you haven't. You've lied about it. You have done everything you can not to release it. And of course, the reason you haven't released it, even if you're not in it, Donald, then people that are very powerful in it, and they won't like it if it's released. And if they see you not doing your utmost not to release it, I don't know how safe you are. Okay? I don't care if you're president or billionaire or whatever. A lot of people fall out of a lot of windows. Okay? And again, Epstein might have thought himself safe, He might have had blackmail material. He might have had kills or dead man switch material or whatever. But it didn't help him in the end. Okay, they got it. They got the material, and he was exited, stage left. Same with Virginia Giuffre. There's no way Virginia Giuffre committed suicide. The last piece, Dave, and then I head on back to the studio. Whatever happened to Charlie Kirk's assassin? Why aren't we haven't heard peep out of that. Nothing. Zero. Have you heard anything? Any news story at all about Charlie Kirk's assassin?
But
the only
not
thing
in the
I'm
mainstream, Becky. Not in the mainstream.
Nothing.
So that guy that's he's got black curly hair set back from his face, usually hangs down, and he's an ex-CIA person.
Oh, Bustamante. Yeah.
He is now saying exactly what we said. Funny that, isn't it? That the guy that they have didn't do it, was not the perpetrator.
Yeah. Look,
I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah, please do. And actually, I think I saw that interview as well. But the thing is this, right? If you analyze the situation, and they had a Marine that was quite handy, disassemble the gun and reassemble it, and he couldn't do it in the time that would have been required for the assassin to do it to get off the roof. So this is the Marine that knows the stuff. He's done it a million times, but he can't do it as fast as would have been required. To be clear, right? And Andy Bustamante is also part of Skinwalker Ranch investigations. In case you're wondering.
Yeah, that's the guy, totally. And he's got his own video out. The link will be in the description below.
Yeah, and he's now looking to leave.
Description below. Take the test and start using.
2026, I think he intends to leave the United States, and because he thinks something bad is going to happen, and he said there are a few countries. He listed the countries, and personally, I think he's going to move to New Zealand. That's my opinion. That's where he's going to go. So if you are following him and you find his stuff interesting, maybe it's time to consider leaving the United States as well. Because, like I said, he's taking his family and leaving. But he said he's not going to leave forever, just for a time and for the time of crisis, I think. Bear in mind this, though, right? Whenever an ex-CIA, ex-NSA, ex-military, ex-government, anything comes forward and says, here's information that is maybe not classified, but also you didn't know it before, etc., etc., take it with a grain of salt. Can we trust these people? I personally do not. I listen to everything they say, and 80% of the time I call bullshit. Okay? Because they're trying to veer off into the conversation goes one way and then it veers off into something else. If you want to educate yourself, and this was great news, by the way, when I saw it. David Icke is back on YouTube. David Icke, and I saw him live once in Sydney Town Hall, and I also have most of his books. I watched most of his videos with Krita Mutwa and whatnot. His information is so detailed and so accurate, it's incredible. And the funny thing is this, nobody ever sued him or tried to sue him. And some of the things he has said are outrageous, where you would say, this is an easy suit. This is easy. I mean, people have sued Alex Jones, right? Okay. Why not David Icke? Why don't they sue David Icke? They sued everybody else that is similar to what David says, but they haven't. And some of the connections that he talks about are phenomenally intricate. How Elon Musk is connected, and how Elon Musk's father did certain things, and Bezos's father did certain things. I urge you, if you really want to understand in this reality what has been going on right under your noses, David Icke is a great resource. Back to you, Dave.
So I wanted to. I'm not going to dispute it. Our government is pandering to the US government in order to get its or have some sway for imports, exports, tariffs, and we banned Candace Owens from coming here. Even
I know. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, do you remember Milo? He came out here and he was a right wing person, and they don't like it.
Yeah,
our government doesn't like right wing people. It's okay to be left. You could be left all the way to crazy, because whichever way left is on your screen. You could be left all the way to crazy, and they'll let you talk about anything. Doesn't matter, because they all think that that's harmless. When you have a right-wing person, they don't even have to be too crazy. They only have to be to the middle, and they're hated by everybody. You can't even be a right-wing comic because they don't like it. That's how sensitive the right is. And I've got a story up here, Meki, and this was the Liberal Party dumped net zero. I have that on screen. They dumped it as a policy. They stood by it. They got a lot of grief. Oh my goodness, they got grief from all the Kool-Aid people who saw inconvenient truth. And what's occurred is we have a left government. Call it centre-left if you want, I really don't care. They're pretty extreme if you ask me. They're more down towards the crazy end of left than you can imagine, since they're introducing less than a month now, Meki, before digital ID, and forcing out all the adults to ID themselves to use the internet for some reason. So the Liberal Party here, which isn't liberal like in America liberal, they are more towards the big end of town, and the left are meant to be towards the people, but they've flipped roles, and now the left is serving almost a fascist dictatorship idea of controlling everybody in society, controlling them. Oh my goodness. So the right has now equalized itself with the American right, saying we really need to just, I think they were very thankful about what Bill Gates has issued, a statement saying, you know what, let's just mitigate. What you said, Meki, I believe, is what we should be doing. Let's not hurt our nations. This is the current story. Let's not hurt our nations. Let's put things in place to live with climate change, because it's too late already anyway. And is it human-made? Well, the Kool-Aid people will say yes. The scientists that were bought to be able to convince the planet that it was human-made ignore all the data that says that the world is still balancing out from the last ice age. That all the methane is going to be released from the permafrost. Meki's right. The tips of mountains in the Alps, which are only held together because they never thaw, are now starting to thaw, and the tops of these mountains are collapsing. Have a look. Some 2 kilometers high have failed and taken out towns in the Alps. Have a look.
Yeah.
We covered some of these stories. So inside our Liberal Party, which is the Liberal National Party, national is pretty much everywhere but the cities. It's all of our regional folk, who I love, to be honest. They are the ones who do all the hard slog. We produce 19 times the amount of food that we can ever eat in Australia, and we export it. And so they're the farmers, and they have machinery that was due to be dismantled because of the push to go green. to have only renewables. Well, you can't do that if you have, 100,000 acres of farmland that you need to produce food on and then harvest. You can't do that with hands. You just can't. You can't till the soil, you can't sow the seeds, you can't harvest your crops by hand. So you need all these machines, and they were going to get penalized for having these, carbon producing machines to make our food. It's entirely ridiculous. And the fight inside our Liberal National Party, who was attempting to try and align with the Kool-Aid and only doing it for votes, trust me on this, they never believed that climate change was an important thing we needed to green the country for, because the cost of greening the country was debilitating us, and at the same time as doing that was the cost was too much. Our power consumption hasn't changed. In fact, it's probably reduced, and yet we're paying hundreds of dollars a quarter more than we should be for the same power, and for no reason except for we sold off our power generation, we leased the powers and lines out to other companies who took out loans, they've got interest to pay on those. Everything went up, and there's no way that we can ever get back to cheap power. Everyone's abandoned the idea, Meccy, of replacing coal with nuclear, which is the best idea that anyone's ever had in Australia. We should do it. We should have already done it. We should already be living in that world. The safe nuclear power now that we can do, we should have implemented, right? That's a soapbox. I'm standing down one step on my soapbox because I wanted to say we have what's called Australia's most powerful battery system. It was introduced, Meccy, to be able to store some of the solar power that is produced, because we've got a lot of sun. We have a lot of sun. Let's not kid ourselves. Yep. And we have the highest in the world take-up of non-professional, non-industry solar power. So domestic solar power is the highest in the world per person, right? And we're doing pretty good, except there was this battery place put in which was meant to store it and could run for 48 hours, producing power if there had to be some other problem on the grid, right? It doesn't supply very much. It's about as much as a coal-fire power station, to be honest with you. But, there you go. It's at least we tried something, and now it's just had a catastrophic transformer failure, which will bankrupt the installation because it now needs to buy another one, and no one has done any investigation yet or released the data to public that says why it failed. It could have been, they went the other way, right? Because it's all DC. You don't store AC. You could have store DC power. So could have been something there. We don't quite know what it is, and it hasn't been described to the people. But this was the last straw, the nail in the coffin for our green power, even though the left government is trying to deploy wind power across New South Wales. Designating that area there. It's a bit hilly. You're not going to plant anything on it. So we're going to put a wind farm there. And then people get sick. Meccy, the low hum that's inaudible that is produced. Yeah. They say they kill birds everywhere. The birds have to deal with a lot more than some blades swimming around in the air. But the problem is there's only an optimal amount of wind speed that the wind power can cope with. They're only engineered for a certain range of wind. If you go below it, they don't spin. And if you go above it, they've actually got to put brakes on to slow the blades down. So they become unusable. And if they turn too fast, they can catch fire. I've seen the tornadoes in America, Meccy, tear them apart. Absolutely. Yeah. Like a frenzy. It's like piranha on a carcass in a river. It's just torn these things apart once the wind goes too high. So I don't think we're going to be in the future living with the same persistent calm wind, just enough in the right zone for sustained power from wind power. I don't see that. If you look at all the modelling, the storms are going to get stronger. Our weather's going to become more unpredictable. And I believe that to be the case. I'm still trending everything out to see where it's all going, and have been pretty much my whole adult life. I was doing it at school. I'm still watching it. Measuring the temperature of a coin left in the sun in summer. Now, the amount of kilojoules on that coin is increasing. The temperature is increasing over time. In the hottest day, put it out there, and our hottest days are going up. The temperature's increasing. So the net effect of everything is, and I agree with Bill Gates, who's tried to pull the cork out of the Kool-Aid and tip it all down the sink and say, you know what, you're all mad. All this money we're spending on trying to stop it is pointless. Let's save the children. Let's try and live with it. We should be building houses that are insulated. More insulated than they are today. We should be building houses with concrete rather than...
Actually.
Right? To withstand what the powerful storms could bring in the future.
We should build houses like the hobbits built houses, to be serious, right?
Oh,
we should build
Earth
houses
ones.
into the earth. Yeah, into the earth, and then have grass and trees on top of it.
Yeah.
Make sure there's no edges and nothing that can actually trap the wind. It just goes over you if there's strong wind, for example. You know? It needs to have good irrigation. But yeah, I think we have to rethink how we build. We have to rethink our city planning. I mean, there are city planners. This is a job, right? And we've done certain things a certain way for a long time. It just doesn't work anymore. I think we need a new approach on how we build our cities. What's important, I think, going up into the into the sky, having the tallest buildings. I think that's stupid. I think it's thermally inefficient. Not only that, I also think it's dangerous because the storms are going to get stronger and they're going to throw more stuff around. Okay, and damage will be phenomenal, I think, in like places like Hong Kong and Dubai and even New York. And I think we need to look at. This is funny because it's almost like full circle. You know, there are a lot of cities in the world, as you know, Dave, that were built underground. You know, in many ways. And we always ask ourselves, why did they do that? I mean, who knows why they did it? But we now have compelling reasons to do it. Compelling reasons to build differently. So you're right. You're 100% correct. We have to rethink everything.
Yeah, I think starting from scratch and saying, well, this is where we are now. Because I do roadmaps for clients. And I say, well, where are you now? And let's discuss where you'd like to be. And then I'll nudge you left or right to see, because it's only what you know is what you'd like to be. So what I know is another layer on top of that. So I go, if you go down this path, this is going to happen. So why don't we just go a little bit more this way, and you're going to be covered for this, and this. And now you're going to be in a position where you have less net cost over time. You're going to be able to have less life cycle, less admin. Let's go into a position that if you and I today are going to make a company, I'm doing my job. So finally, this is what you could do today. And this is where you are. I can't even see you on the horizon. You're so far away from where you would be today if you started the company today. Let's bring you here. Let's just do that. Let's have that as a starting. That's the end point, right? Let's start making this happen. So, I think as nations of people, we take advantage of the cheapest. Developers take advantage of the cheapest, most profit things to sell to people, I'm still looking, Mickey. I've been looking at this picture of the most powerful battery, and it's built like a couple of meters above sea level. And this is what I'm talking about. You can see this land is almost perfectly flat up until the mountains in the distance. And those mountains are hills. They're not like American mountains. They're only a couple of 100 meters tall. That's it. Tops. Because we have a stretching out of our eastern seaboard, and they're all subsiding. It isn't... My friend's going to love me for saying subsiding. But it's a slow release of the pressure on the outer eastern edge of Australia, so that they can't sustain the height anymore. Like if you could forcefully pull India back away from the Alps, they would come back down. They're the reason why the Alps are there. It's crushing the land together, forming a pressure that makes the whole Earth rise up at that point. But anyway, so in Australia we have all this completely flat land around the base of these mountains going out to the ocean, and most of it was intertidal. And that's where we're going. We're going back to that. The sea level is slowly rising, but we have to see all of the land ice melt away before these will be consumed by it. And I think we're building all of our infrastructure in the wrong places. Totally in the wrong places. It makes no sense to me why we would do it. Oh, but that's right. The money go round is what we live in. We live in the world of money, and people only do something for money, and they do it for the most money. So, that all makes sense now. And it's that greed that drives it. We're not doing it like ants would do it. Ants actually build a nest underground with these things that if it does flood, they're all pretty much fine. It builds these air pockets and verticals so that everyone can escape to there. It doesn't just fill up. You don't have all of these shapes where it can just automatically fill up with water if you fill the hole up. I think it's extraordinary. We don't do it. We're not so forward thinking enough to be able to cope with disaster in the future. Our electric cycles are too small. Our news cycles are horrendously small, and there was no long-term view of making humanity better, Mickey.
But even the regular person, we're living in a just-in-time society, right? Mm-hmm. We're living in a throwaway society. We're living in a I just go to the supermarket and buy what I need to buy society. This is no longer the society of 100 years ago, where we actually laid in food for the winter, where we pickled things, where we salted things, where we got ready for a whole bunch of stuff. This is no longer that place. This is now, really, we live day to day when it comes to things like that, just day to day. And I think this is in the West, by the way. In other parts of the world, it's quite different. We have to change that, Dave. You're right. The government, of course, has to, and there's no incentive for the government because, like you said, the government is not far-looking. It's looking to the next election. Mm-hmm. Can I win the next election? How do I win the next election? Don't look up. Didn't test well. Okay? So...
There's some of the best lines from the movie.
100%. I mean, if there were a disaster, if anything takes long-term planning, there are very few countries in the world that you would trust with that. Australia is not one of them. America is not one of them. The Europeans are so-so. The people that are really good at this, at the moment at least, are the Chinese. The Chinese are excellent at long-term planning. Okay? They have what it takes, because that's what they've been doing. So if there were a disaster, I give the Chinese good odds to survive it. America, no odds. I think if something were to happen, they would all. One day it'd be normal, the next day it'd be The Walking Dead. That's what it would be. I get it. No transition. It just go whoop. It's like Barney sitting in the school. Oh no, Barney, you're a zombie too. As Barney is eating a human arm. Zombies?
And there's the music. I can hear. Oh my goodness.
It is. It is. It is. This has been Platos Cave. Thank you so much for listening. If you see us out in the wild, please like, comment, subscribe, share, etc., etc. Goes for any show, of course, but our shorts especially. And again, thank you for subscribing. Don't go anywhere. Something is going to come up that's going to be awesome, and we'll see you on Sunday. And in the meantime, Dave,
be safe, everyone.
Listen to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.